Hi, my name is Taylor Torres, and we have our client here, Eddie, who will be performing a few FMS assessment tests. So the first test that we will be doing is a deep squat. So the purpose of the deep squat is to assess mobility, stability, and functionality of the hip, the knee, and the ankle. So for this test, we will have our client hold a dowel in his hands. He's going to flex his shoulders up and extend his elbows out above his head. From there, he's going to open his legs a little bit wider than shoulder distance apart, and then you're gonna go ahead and squat as deeply as you can. You're gonna go at a slow pace and making sure that your chest is up, the dowel is over your head, and you're looking forward. Okay, so from what I assessed from his first attempt was that I did notice that his femur was not horizontal and that he did have his alignment of his knees were not there. So what we're gonna do is we're going to have him place his heels on our piece of board here, and that's gonna help assist him in the full motion of a deep squat. So you're gonna do the same motion, and making sure that your chest is up, head is facing forward, and you're going down at a slow pace. Good. That one was better. I noticed that he was able to get his femur below horizontal. He still had a few alignment issues with his knees, so we're gonna go ahead and try it one more time. Okay, so for this test, I'm going to go ahead and score him a 1 out of the 3, because as I did state, I did notice that his alignment with his knees was a little bit off, as well as his femur was not all the way below horizontal. So our next test that we will be doing is the hurdle step. So for this test, the purpose is to examine the proper stride mechanics and coordination and stability in the torso and the hips. So for this test, we will have our client hold the dowel in his hands above his head and just resting on his shoulders. He's going to have both of his feet, his toes, touching the tip of the board, and we already pre-measured from the ground to his tibial tuberosity, and it was 17 inches, and so that's where we have our string here. And so all that he's going to do from this position, he's going to lift, we're going to start with his left leg. He's going to lift his left leg, tap the heel of your leg on the ground on the opposite side, and then from that position, go straight back into your starting position. When you're ready, you can go ahead and start your movement. So what I noticed is that he did have a little balance issue there. So we're gonna go ahead and try a few more times with the same leg. So I still see a little bit of alignment issue with his knee and his hip. For his left leg, I am going to score him a 2 for his left leg. The next test that we will be doing is an inline lunge. The purpose of this test is to assess mobility in the hip and ankle, as well as stability, quadricep flexibility, and ankle stability. So for this test, we will have our client Eddie stand on our block of wood here. He's going to have his back leg, his back foot at the bottom of our piece of wood. His other foot and leg is going to be extended to the 17-inch mark line, and that's where his heel will be touching. That distance is due to the measurement between his tibial tuberosity and the ground. So we previously measured that it will be 17 inches. So we'll have Eddie have his foot onto the 17-inch mark line. I'm going to help him step onto the board. Okay. So since he has his left leg forward, he will have his right arm on the dowel. Right arm on the top of the dowel. So you're going to go ahead and switch your arms. And his left arm will be at the bottom of the dowel. So this is going to be his starting movement. So when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and get into a lunge as low as you can, touching your knee to the ground. Okay, so what I noticed with his first attempt was that he was having a little difficulty with his balance, as well as he wasn't able to get his knee all the way down to the ground. So we're going to go ahead and try again. When you're ready, you're going to go ahead and start. Okay, and so the same thing that I'm noticing is happening, as well as now his chest is starting to move a little bit forward, which means that he's compensating a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and have our client start his position at his own pace when he's ready. And next I'm going to measure the distance. Okay, you can go ahead and relax. Okay, so what I did notice was that the distance between his hands was greater than 8 inches away, and it was a little bit more than 1.5 inches as well. So from this point, we're going to go ahead and attempt one more time. So we're going to do the same arm, right arm over his head, and his left hand is going to, perfect. And we're going to go ahead and measure the distance. Okay, and you can go ahead and relax. So for this test, I did see a measurement of 9, so that was within the inch and a half distance between his arms. So I'm going to stop the trial from here, and I will score him a 2 for this test. So next we'll be doing the shoulder clearing test. So for this test, all we're measuring is his pain response for within his shoulders. So what I'm going to have Eddie do is you're going to raise your right arm, extend it out in front of you, and all you're going to do is touch the shoulder of your opposite arm. Okay, do you feel any pain?
No.
Okay, perfect. He does not feel any pain, so we're going to go ahead and do the same movement with the opposite arm. Do you feel any pain?
No.
Okay, you can go ahead and relax. So because there was no pain felt with this clearing test, he will receive a 1. So the next test that we will be doing is an active leg raise test. So for this test, the purpose of it is to assess our client's active hamstring flexibility while maintaining a stable pelvis. So our client is lying on his back. We have his head making contact with the ground, his arms extended to the side of his body, and both of his legs are extended out. So we're going to start with his left leg first. That's the leg that will be lifting as high as he can. He's going to maintain dorsiflexion in both of his legs, which just means that your toes are flexed forward and they're not downward. You're going to maintain full extension with your knee. We want to make sure that your knee is not bent while you're going full range of motion. And then we have our dowel here that is at his ASIS as well as the mid-length of his patella. So the goal is for him to get lift his leg as high as he can while maintaining extension of his knee. So when you're ready, you're going to slowly go ahead and lift up your left leg as high as you can. Okay, so what I did notice is that he had a slight bend to his knee. So just remember that we want to make sure that we keep our knee completely extended, and we're going to go ahead and try again. Okay. Now we did notice with that one, his leg was a little bit more level and straight. So the next test that we will be doing is a chunk stability push-up. So for this test, we will have our client lying on his stomach. He will have his toes or his ankles dorsiflexed. He's going to have his hands parallel with his forehead, and that's going to be his starting position. From there, he's going to push up while maintaining a stable back and a stable core, making sure his core is strong, and then return back to that starting position. So the purpose of this test is to assess core stability and while completing an upper extremity motion. So when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and lift up. Okay, so just by seeing one of his attempts, I would score him a 3. He was able to complete the movement in one motion. He maintained a level core and his spine was level and straight. So I'm going to score him a 3. So from this, we're going to go ahead and move on to a spinal extension clearing test. So the purpose of this test is just to determine if he feels any pain while extending his spine. So what you're going to go ahead and do, you're going to keep your arms a little bit closer to your body, and then you're just going to lift your torso up and while keeping your hips close to the ground. Good. And then return back. Return back to neutral. Did you feel any pain? No. Okay, so because our client did not feel any pain, he tested negative for this clearing test. So our last 2 assessments that we will be doing are a rotary stability test and our spinal flexion clearing test. Okay, so the next test that we will be doing is rotary stability. So the purpose of this test is to measure and to assess his multiple plane trunk stability. So for this test, we will have our client lift. We're going to start with his left side. So we're going to have him flex and extend his left arm out in front of him while extending out the same leg out as far as he can, just slightly above 6 inches from the ground. Bring his knee to his elbow and then extend back out. Okay, so when you're ready, in a slow pace, you're going to go ahead and try. Okay, so what I did notice is that he was a little bit off balance. So what we will be doing is we will be doing the same movement but opposite arm, opposite leg. So we're going to stay with our left arm extended out, but now you're going to be extending out your right leg. So before, you're going to go ahead and go back to neutral. So before he starts that though, we want to make sure that he is maintaining a solid core and that it's one fluid motion. So you're going to go ahead when you're ready, extend both at the same time and bring your knee to elbow and then extend right back at the same time. So he did have better balance with this movement, but he wasn't able to bring his knee all the way up to his elbow. So our last test is the spinal flexion clearing test. So for this test, we're going to have Eddie here stay in a tabletop position, and from this position he will go ahead and push his butt back to his heels, and then he's going to keep his arms extended out in front of him and try and place his chest on his quadriceps. And so once he does that, I will ask him if he feels any pain, and then that's when we will record his result. So when you're ready, you're going to slowly go ahead and push your butt back to your heels. Good. And then go ahead and return back to neutral position. Did you feel any pain? Good. Okay, so because he did not feel any pain, he scored negative for the spinal flexion clearing test, which is also a 1. That was our last test, so I would like to thank Eddie here, our client, for participating in all of these assessments, and thank you.